What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris, and Road to Vostok's update comes out this upcoming weekend. It will be an absolutely monumental update, and we've covered the update details in depth in a video just last week. So this week, with the proper announcement of the demo date, again, coming this weekend, I thought it would be good to cover what Road to Vostok is and why this first update to the demo is such a big deal. Road to Vostok is an immersive, hardcore first-person shooter, with its inspirations coming from games like Escape from Tarkov, Stalker, and DayZ. Road to Vostok aims to top them all and be the best hardcore FPS on the market. It's already making huge strides towards this, as development is incredibly active, with work on new maps and new weapons, new items, and new in-game functions like climbable ladders and swimming. With equal focus on both the immersive elements that draw you into the game world like functional radios, wells, and more, hardcore shooting elements like arm stamina and weapon positioning, and then survival elements like eating and sleeping, the concept behind Road to Vostok is rock solid. I'd even say if successful at all three, this will be a perfect video game, which you don't see very often. But enough about what Road to Vostok is, let's talk about what it's about. Road to Vostok sets you in the middle of the contested border zone of Finland and Russia. You yourself are aiming to head across the border to the titular Vostok, or from Finland into Russia. There will be a procedural difficulty as you head across the maps, meaning that when you're in the Russian side of the map, the game will be at its hardest. Even going as far as having permadeath, where dying could cost you your entire save file. Road to Vostok isn't like Escape from Tarkov or other hardcore shooters in the fact that it's not an operator sim, so you won't be going around with the best gear you see in these games much more commonly. You're likely going to be surviving off a hunting rifle and a warm sweater rather than a tactical kit and some mil-spec weapon. But as you clear through areas like Vostok, or just get incredibly lucky, you'll get high-end gear like plate carriers and high-end weapons as you risk it all on the Vostok side of the game. The risk-reward factor of progressing in Road to Vostok is one of the many hardcore elements that is really exciting and will be equally challenging. Road to Vostok won't be a looter-shooter either, though there will be a ton of loot involved. We'll go over one of the many ways to manage that in a short bit here, but with the current focus on expanding the loot pool with a challenge the dev has undergone over on Patreon, where he aims to have 100 lootable items ready for Demo 2 later on this year, it shows how much loot this game will eventually have come launch, with hundreds of items, from medicinal items to keep you healthy, to food items that you'll have the ability to cook and prepare, to an excellent selection of well-made guns. The developer has this unique way of making most of his assets where he takes a real-life photo of an image and essentially uses that to create a skin for the asset. It's a really cool approach and winds up with this unique in-game look to most items, having a more realistic look about them. It'll be a lot of items to manage. Some of it won't be the most useful, but for the stuff that serves us a benefit, we'll have to keep it somewhere, which is where shelters come into play. The shelter system in Road to Vostok is essentially a small form of base building. We won't be putting up walls or roofs over our heads, but if we find a quiet place away from combat, we could set up a small shelter with things like fireplaces, portable generators, cooking with hot plates, and a lot more. This system of small form base building will be an essential factor to surviving Road to Vostok's many elements, like harsh winters, rainstorms, hunger and sleep, and even as a place to store items like medicinal supplies to keep yourself in top shape while you explore the rest of the border zone. All game things aside, the developer of this game is a really good guy too. Not only is he working away on this game, but he's also been putting up his assets for free, so any other dev can use high quality assets in their work. It's just a genuinely nice move. But that aside, the developer has worked with the game engine Unity for over 10 years at this point. His familiarity with the game engine means that development on this game won't be like some games where devs are coming to an engine for the first time. As a seasoned veteran, there's a lot of pre-polish that will come with that experience, hopefully all leading up to a successful and bug-free game. And speaking of veteranship, the developer also served in the military, a small but essential detail in how this game will provide a realistic shooting experience. The dev primarily worked with communications throughout his service, but that will lead to its own interesting factors of immersion when it comes to radio signals and their importance in the game. But that's right, you've been hearing me right, most of this game is completely developed by just one guy, which that's crazy in itself. Luckily, it's not all entirely solo developed because that's just a mental amount of work. Lately, the dev has been hiring outsourced work on things like building assets and sound improvements that have hopefully made his work a lot easier. But now let's look at what's to come next for Road to Vostok, because it's one of the biggest overhauls I've seen in an update in a long time. Everything from the ground up is being updated and brought to a higher level than what the current demo is. From the map expansion, where we'll see the introduction of swimming, water features like simulated buoyancy, on top of revamped locations, and even the terrain. This revamp is going to be huge, not only for what it adds, but how it expands the map overall. The attachment system is now mostly in place as well. It's an incredibly fluid system that I think most people are going to be really impressed with when they play the demo this upcoming weekend. The clothing and equipment system is now in the game too, where you can equip stuff like proper survival clothing and that high-end tactical gear we were talking about earlier in the video. And for what you'll be using, there will be a ton of new weapons added, from the AS Val to the P220, and they'll come with updated and more realistic recoil and sounds too. We'll also be able to try out the winter settings in the general map, which I'm personally really looking forward to. Then there's canted aiming, ambient and reverb zones, better arms for animations, and so much more. If you want to learn about it all, I'll have a video linked at the end of this one, because it's really a lot to cover in just a 1-minute segment. Road to Vostok is the game to follow right now. With its big update just around the corner, this game will be taking its second proper step in the video game world, and it'll be a step that reverberates through the entire FPS gaming community. Mark my words. With all the work that's gone into this update, we're not just seeing a simple update, but almost a version 2 of the first demo, a version that better represents not only the scope of the game, but its potential as well. With a developer that's there for the passion and ambition that is needed to be the best hardcore FPS on the market. So we'll be covering this demo update in full detail when it lands this weekend. Please stay tuned for a first raw impressions live stream, and then probably a deluge of videos to follow it. But for now, I'd like to say thank you all for watching this video. If you're hyped for RTV, maybe hit the thumbs up button to show your support. But for now, I'll catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.